Re:Zero was one of the first isekai anime I had watched, falling just behind Overlord, which came to my attention first back when I was still in high school. I remember watching it and being surprised at all the horrific scenes that were showed in it, and how I wanted to know more about this concept. It wasn't as if Re:Zero had a completely new idea. If you were to mix all the gore from something like Future Diary with the mindfuckery and power of the main character in Steins Gate, you would essentially get Re:Zero. Did this man just compare Future Diary and Steins Gate with Re:Zero? Yes I did. What are you gonna do about it? That's what I thought. Now, while the power the main character gets and the constant gore make the show interesting, it gets repetitive in the later seasons due to the stuff I'll explain later. But if you don't want to go through the entire rating, then I'll say this. Re:Zero is a good watch for anyone who likes isekais and or gory anime. So if that sounds like it's in your interests, then definitely give it a watch. Alright, let's get into the story. The main character of the story is called Subaru. He's a shut-in NEET who plays video games to the point where he doesn't even attend school anymore. One day, while he's out shopping, he rubs his eyes due to playing games too long, which we can all kind of relate to, right? Without sleep, and suddenly he's in a fantasy world where things like demi-humans and magic exist. Subaru, while managing to stay cool with the fact that he's in a different world, gets himself into a dangerous situation as he's not physically strong and he has no magic powers at that point. However, a girl calling herself Satella saves him, and they both travel together in search of a trinket Satella had that got stolen. Once they stumble upon the hiding place of the thief, they believe they'll be able to barter for the item, but instead of finding the thief, they find dead bodies. Without a clue about what's going on, Subaru hears a voice behind him and gets slashed through the stomach. Satella, who was outside at this time, comes in to see what the commotion was about, and she herself gets slashed and killed. And so, while on the verge of death, Subaru vows to save Satella no matter what, and just like that, he is brought back to the time he came into this world while still remembering what happened and how he died. Now, with his newfound power of what is essentially time travel, he must find his way in this strange new world and everything that comes with it. That's as far as I'm willing to say without spoiling anything else that is major to the story, so I would highly suggest watching the anime if it's something that sounds interesting to you. In my opinion, the first season is probably the best, as everything is still new to the main character, while in the later seasons, a few plot points feel as though they're being dragged, and I start to lose interest. However, it was interesting enough for me to finish to the last season. Well, let's get into the ratings. The story gets a 7 out of 10. It's quite good, especially at the beginning. There's a lot that they put in, but for 2 long seasons it's really not that surprising. There's a few things, such as certain plot points being dragged out, which I have mentioned, which annoyed me a bit, but most of them were entertaining enough and kept me watching. But after some time, the whole going back in time thing really just got annoying, especially when you get on a plot point that you don't necessarily enjoy, which is what happened to me near the end. The action also gets an 8 out of 10. They also went wild in this category, and honestly it paid off. They put a lot of focus on the big battles and they were fun and entertaining to watch, but I do sort of wish there were a lot more, as the repeating story elements, due to the whole time travel thingy, get boring without the standout battles, but they make sure to have one at almost every ending of an arc. Honestly, I didn't pay much attention to the overall sounds of the anime, because back when I watched it, it didn't really interest me other than the opening and ending music, so I can't say much about that. However, I very much enjoyed the opening and ending music, so that'll get an 8 out of 10 from me. As for the animation, there were some standout moments within the show that were really well animated, especially the big fights. They weren't amazing, but they were honestly enough for what they were trying to show, and some of the more gory scenes were actually a bit disturbing, especially after you get to know some of the characters, so the animation gets a 9 out of 10 from me. Overall, the anime gets a 40 out of 50 rating. You might think that this would be a bigger review, considering I gave it a high mark, but honestly I think of Re:Zero as a really good middle point anime for most isekai fans. It has some great stuff for sure, but I wouldn't necessarily call it the best, at least not for me. Had the plot points been less dragged out, especially near the end when I just wanted to see it conclude, then I would have given it a higher mark, but for sure this is an amazing anime to check out if isekais are your thing, and a good bit of gore to go with. But yeah, that's about it for this review. Next video will be a review about One Punch Man, so if you haven't seen it or want to see what we think of it, then give it a watch. Like and subscribe, and maybe give us a comment telling us what you'd like to see next. But yeah, that's about it. Later.